Hello and welcome to a look at Capture the Flag on Hangar 21. Now, Capture the Flag's always been a bit of a dubious mode as far as I'm concerned. It's okay on some maps, it's terrible on others. The Caspian border Capture the Flag is just vehicles flying everywhere. This is a pure infantry Capture the Flag and it takes part solely in the hangar. So this is going to give you an idea of what the various game modes like Domination and Deathmatch are going to be like, because I'm assuming they're only going to take place in the hangar as well. Now, this video should have had some live commentary on it, and I recorded it with live commentary, or at least I thought I recorded it with live commentary. It does help if you turn the microphone on. So I recorded the whole round, thought great, just have to stick it in the editor, put the titles on, and that'll be it. And then when I played it, there was no voiceover, so I'm having to do this afterwards. So, Capture the Flag on Hangar 21. What's it like? Well, it's bloody brilliant. That's what it's like. As I've already said, I think this may well be the best map in Battlefield 4. And this hangar section turns Capture the Flag, which is an okay game mode at best, into a really good game mode. Infantry only, Capture the Flag, indoors with lots of levels and lots of routes is really great. Unfortunately, they rolled this out on Saturday and I only had a couple of hours to give it a try, but I played it solidly for those 2 hours. In fact, I ended up playing for 3 hours and being late to where I was supposed to be, but it is a really good game mode and map combination. In terms of loadout for this round, well, I'm running the AWS with a 3.4 times scope, compensator and a stubby grip. It's a really good setup for infantry only maps. It's pretty accurate at medium and long ranges and gives you some survivability at close range. I'm running the Deagle as a sidearm, I've got an ammo box, and I've got a mortar because I didn't change my loadout round. The round before we were checking to see if you could use a mortar in here, if it was tall enough. It is, but there's so much stuff in the way that the mortar just tends to bang into before it lands. You can use a UCAV in here. That's a bit interesting. It's a bit tricky to guide it around, but you can do it, and you can use an SUAV. I simply forgot to change my loadout back when I came into this round. Should really have something like a claymore for in here to put it down, give a bit of protection on one of the ways into this area. There are so many ways into this area where the flag is that you do kind of have to have your head on swivels, and you've got to try and keep your eye on what's above you as well. But it is a lot of fun. I wouldn't object to a server that just ran this 24/7. It would be really good, and I don't think they really need to change anything in this game mode and map. The simplest way to look at Capture the Flag on Hangar 21 is team deathmatch with a purpose. You can just go out and kill people in this game mode, because that kind of completes the objective. If you kill anybody that comes near your flag, you're going to win. So that's basically the setup of what you're watching. Now I've got to try and remember what I talked about in the live commentary. And the first one is the keyboard. My new keyboard has arrived. I've been using it for a few days now. It's a Rocat ISKU. It's the FX version, which means it lights up and does a few extra fancy things. Haven't really used any of the fancier functions on it yet. In fact, I've turned off the macro keys because I keep hitting them by mistake. I'm not used to playing on a standard keyboard layout. So if in the videos over the next couple of weeks you see me pulling out strange weapon combinations, or pulling out a gadget for no apparent reason in the middle of a firefight, it's because I keep hitting the wrong keys, because I've got like a certain amount of muscle memory from my old little gamepad on the SteelSeries Merc, and I haven't quite adjusted to playing on what's a pretty standard keyboard layout. I much prefer the feel of this ISKU to the Rios that I tried before. The ISKU is a membrane keyboard, the Rios is a mechanical, and I just couldn't get used to the changing layout and the changing key feel as well. So the ISKU's got a different layout, but the keys feel the same as they did on my old keyboard. And because the ISKU is a membrane keyboard, it's thinner and flatter than the Rios was as well. So the Rios was at a different angle because it has to have more space to fit in the mechanical keys. So ISKU is certainly better for me than the Rios, although in a year or so when I'm used to going back to playing games on a standard keyboard layout, I should imagine going to a mechanical keyboard wouldn't be as big of a jump. I think it was the combination of the key feel and the layout being different to what I was used to that made the Rios a bit tricky for me to use. And I think there's a bit of a lesson there that I'll need to learn for the future. It's all very well going for the keyboards with fancy bits on like game pads and extra macro options and all that kind of stuff, but if you use them for gaming, you're a bit screwed when it comes to using a standard keyboard afterwards. I paid originally 50 quid for the SteelSeries Mercenary keyboard. When I had problems with the Rios, I had a look at buying another SteelSeries Mercenary, and it doesn't look like they're made anymore because the only ones I could find were about $200. So if you stick to something at its base is a standard keyboard, maybe has a few extra macro buttons or a few extra buttons dotted around that make life easier, that's fine. But stick to something that's basically a keyboard. And it's the same with a mouse. If you go for something that's got 16 buttons down the side, how do you cope when you're limited to just 3 on a different mouse? I'll give this ISKU a month to get used to it and then try out some of the functions that are on it, and then I'll do a little review on it to let you know how the mouse and keyboard combination works, because they do talk to each other, and the buttons on the mouse can affect the keyboard and the buttons on the keyboard can affect the mouse. But I'm not going to try that out until I'm used to the keyboard again. One of the other things I talked about in the live commentary was what weapons we'd like to see in this DLC. So I got asked a question in the comments, what weapons would you like to see coming in Final Stand? Well, hopefully it's something a bit weird. I'd kind of like it to be along the lines of 2142 weapons rather than real world weapons. So you could bring in Battlefield 3 weapons, but they're all old by now. If you were going to bring in Battlefield 3 weapons, well, AN-94, that was always a good weapon, and there's nothing really like it in Battlefield 4. And just because I've always liked the gun and the way it looks, the MP5, especially with the classic integrated silencer, I think that would be a good gun to bring back. But they're not really going to fit this sort of near future scenario that they've got in Final Stand. So maybe we should look at Battlefield 2142 weapons, and for that we have the Scar 11 and the Krylov FA-37, was it? I think those were the two standard assault rifles you got in 2142. So one's a future Scar, one's a future AK in a way. And I think that's the way they should go. Take the guns that are currently available, tweak them and modernise them. Or guns that were designed but never really released. So you could have something like the Daewoo XK8. It's a bullpup design weapon that looks a bit like the British Army L85A2, but a bit more futuristic. And, don't just bring out another version of an AR-15 rifle, because they've been done to death, and the AR-15 platform is pretty much on its last legs. I don't think even the American Army is going to be using it for much longer, because it's kind of got to as far as it's going to get. Put into Google concept assault rifles and you'll come up with quite a few designs that are out there that actual arms manufacturers have already shown off, but have never been picked up. If you do want to use real life guns, then use something that's a bit unusual, like the Micro Tar, which is a really chopped down version of the Tavor. If you want to have a look at a concept that would probably do the job, check out the ASHR, which is the Assault Sniper Rifle Hybrid. I hate having to remember acronyms, but that's designed by Dalton Stanley and is a future weapon concept that actually works. Essentially, it's a gun with two barrels. It's got an assault rifle barrel and a sniper rifle barrel, but they're both made of lightweight composites, and you can just switch between the two. So imagine a gun in Battlefield where you did 25 damage in automatic mode, but when you switched to single fire mode, you did 34 damage. That would be an interesting gun. So that's probably the kind of gun I'd like to see in Final Stand. Something unusual, or that's just a concept at the moment, you know, so that we get a kind of near future feel to the guns that come out in the DLC. What we're actually going to get, I think, is going to be a combination of the two. I think we're going to get guns inspired by 2142. So we're going to get an assault rifle that's probably a combination between the Scar H and the Scar 11 from 2142. Maybe the AK-5 and the FA-37. Don't know which one they're going to pick, but I think that's what we'll get. We'll get halfway between a current weapon and a 2142 weapon. As of yet, there's no evidence of a new game mode in Final Stand. Now, we've had Conquest on all 4 maps. This is Capture the Flag on Hangar 21, and we're also getting Rush on Hammerhead. So there's 3 existing game modes. There's been no talk of a new one. Now, what game mode they'd pick, I'm not sure. And if we look at the list of game modes from Battlefield 3, the ones we haven't had are Gunmaster, Scavenger and Tank Superiority. Now, you can't do Tank Superiority on Hangar 21 because it doesn't have any tanks. So I can't see that coming out on Final Stand. Gunmaster and Scavenger are really just infantry modes with a few vehicles around, and Giants and Whiteout don't really follow the plan for those either. Now, there was a game mode in 2142 that we haven't seen for a while, and that was Assault Lines. Now, that was kind of Conquest, but one side started with all the flags, and the other team had to go out and capture those flags. But one flag was locked. It couldn't be captured unless a team held all the other flags. It was a bit weird. Not really sure it ever worked that well, but they could rework that mode. But until they announce something or we get a little leak out of DICE LA, we're not going to know if there is going to be a game mode. And it's the same for the next DLC. There's still a big rumour that we're going to have another DLC, and that's going to slot in to take up the space offered by Hardline being delayed until next spring. Now, I still think having a full DLC suddenly appear isn't going to happen. I don't think we're going to get new maps, and I don't think we're going to get new game modes in a DLC that will be basically dropped in as an afterthought because of a delay to another game. What we could get is some more weapons and maybe some more assignments just to keep people's interest going. And I think that would come in the form of just an update rather than a DLC. I don't think they'd call it a DLC because then they've got the issue of, do premium members get it for free and do non-premium members have to pay for it? Because Premium was sold on Final Stand being the last DLC, and people who haven't got Premium would go, well, this isn't a Premium DLC, so why are we paying for it? So I think that, if it does happen, would have to happen as just a patch, not a full DLC release. Right, so we're getting towards the end of this round, and I've waffled on quite a bit. Well, not really waffled, I actually talked about things in this one. It's a lot less waffly than it would have been if you'd got the live commentary. Now, I have got to do the commentary for a video tomorrow, which will be for Rush on Hammerhead. So if you've got any questions about the Final Stand DLC or Battlefield in general, drop them in the comments for this video, and if I see them early enough then I can answer them in the one that should be coming out tomorrow night or maybe Tuesday. I don't know when I'll get the video done. But feel free to drop questions in and I'll answer them at some point. I think this Final Stand DLC testing stops on Sunday. It was just an initial little burst for them to get some alpha testing of the maps done. So what's probably going to come soon in terms of content is me trying to get to rank 100 and then doing the rank 100 assignments. That was all delayed by this Final Stand testing, but should come soon. Thanks for watching. Which is a bullpup design that looks something a bit like the British Army's L-86,